Hello and good afternoon. I'm your Thursday sub on the Pagan Perspective, and this month we are, well, the subs rather, this month, um, are basically saying Happy New Year. Obviously, it's the end of the new year now. It's currently 4:15 on the 30th of January. Oh, there's 31 days in January, so the rest of the week it's New Year. Um, so the goal of today's video is to share goals, intentions for the new calendar year, what I'm currently reading, working on, or really into. So, secular stuff first. I'm really into doing home improvement stuff at the moment. I'm currently at a new desk, so it's the same room I've been filming everything in so far, but things have it's all flipped around, and I've built a new desk into an alcove I had. Um, so the background doesn't look particularly. Uh, there's no pagan-y kind of stuff, but I'm going to be sorting out everything here at the moment. Building some flower beds for my mum in a couple of weeks, a little nature garden. We're kind of edging towards my pagan roots now, and obviously tree planting is a big thing for me. I managed at the end of the last New Year to get, I think, 36 oaks in the ground. A tree planting project at an old farm about 15 or so miles away. So next year in the spring, this year in the spring, when they start growing leaves, I'll be able to go back and check up on them, see how they're doing, weed, clear out the tree guards and put them back on or what have you. So that's obviously a big thing. There's more planting to go, so we're almost in February. So sometime in the next 30 days ish, I think, I'm going to be planting more of my trees at the school I work at. So school fields in the UK are not used most of the year, because no one wants the kids getting muddy and bringing the mud inside the building, so they're not allowed on the field when it's wet, definitely in primary schools, for the most part. And it's no different at the school I work at now. So they've got football fields and things, but they're not really used as much as they could be. So in the next month I'm taking some more trees to the school I work at, and we are going to be planting those, getting the kids involved. I've got a lot of old cardboard noodle pots that we're going to be planting some beech tree seeds in, and hopefully they'll kind of spring up around springtime as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on that's kind of related to my kind of druidic path, the tree hugging side of my druidism. I am working in a new school. I don't know if I've mentioned this in a previous video. So the school I'm currently working in, I'm working with, what's the word? I don't want to say deprived, but kids from a lower income or less stable home, or maybe only one parent at home. So kids who are disadvantaged, not necessarily intellectually, but certainly kind of economically and socially have some sort of disadvantage. For the most part, that's the kids I'm working with. I'm not a teacher at this school. I'm officially a teaching assistant, but I've got a whole bunch of groups of kids of my own. I've got a maths class, so essentially I'm somewhere between a teaching assistant and a teacher at the moment. My room, we're filling it. I've got some oak trees in there. I've got some galls, and I'm teaching the kids about nature and things. So that all coming back to the idea that, in my mind, that a druid is a student of the world, a teacher, a healer, and a politician. Politician being in a literal sense of just dealing with people. I suck at dealing with people. Kids are easy, but people aren't. I can explain that later, maybe. But so yeah, focusing on improving um, my workflow with my job, um, and trying to get nature, trees into the classroom, literally as well as educationally, and obviously physically getting trees onto the premises, planting them in the field. So we've got a thing going on there. I'd like to touch on something. The job being mentioned, I'd like to touch on something from a previous video, from the end of last year, I think it was. It might have been the second to last video from last year that I did, talking about social justice and its effect on my path. It's very easy to get stuck in one lane, and with Facebook and with YouTube, I would say I'm into politics. I follow politics, and largely when social justice is being talked about, with the big stuff, when social justice is being talked about, it tends to be things like providing equity based on race, based on gender, so making sure that there are equal numbers of women firefighters and male firefighters, which is stupid. They're saving lives. You should make sure there's the best firefighters, whatever they happen to be. Things like affirmative action and things like that in the States, or the BBC having job adverts for saying no white people allowed, all that kind of stuff, and all of that kind of thing. Generally, I don't agree with forcing outcomes. I believe in making the playing field equal so that people can make their own choices. It might be that certain groups of people just naturally don't gravitate towards certain areas of society, and that's fine if that's their choice. And then things like the wage gap, which mostly doesn't exist, but when I say mostly, I mean for like jobs. People who are working at McDonald's are not male and female are earning the same amount, and obviously you get different amounts when you get to like big pay amounts when you're negotiating salaries. But those people are rich, so I don't really care, and I mentioned that in that video. But I didn't realise, because again, it's very easy to get stuck in a lane, and this is something that it's hard to admit when you're wrong. I was wrong about. My job involves, in a way, social justice. My entire job, I'm hired, and I was already in this job at the time, and I've had this as part of my job and as a big part of something we do in school anyway, and I've always been doing this, but I just didn't ever think of it as being social justice. I'm working specifically with groups of kids who have like I said, a background that isn't ideal. They are at a disadvantage, whether with home, whether it's social or economic or what have you. That is social justice, in a way. And so I want to apologise. There was a couple of people who didn't agree with things I'd said there. I'd like to apologise for not thinking it completely through last time round. The principles of social justice, the principles of helping give those who are disadvantaged a leg, kind of giving them a leg up. That's something that I live every day, but I let the big internet politics debates cloud my ability to see exactly what was in front of my face. Now, as far as outcomes, makes no difference, but the fact that I can now recognise it means that when a topic that is socially, politically sensitive, what have you, maybe I'll take a second to think about it a bit more. It won't affect how I do my job. I've always put the kids first and always kind of try and do my best, but it certainly will affect how I view certain things. So it was only in the last week or so that I realised this, that there was that connection. So yeah, I'd like to apologise for that mistake last year. As far as what we're currently reading, working on, or really into, the working on is obviously, like I said, woodwork and lots of tree planting and stuff at the moment. What I'm reading, Neil Gaiman, Norse mythology. It's a good book. Now, most of us will know most of these stories already. pretty sure I know all the stories already to some degree. But Neil Gaiman is a bloody good writer, and so it's worth having a read. Everything we read now has been translated probably a number of times from a different language anyway, so a different um, telling of the same stories is always worth doing. Um, Again, it helps you take a different perspective maybe from it if it's told with some different words, or if it's told with slightly different structure. It can help you take something more from it. Now, I take inspiration from Norse mythology and the Norse gods. I've got a little section for Odin on my altar, but I don't know if maybe a hardcore Asatru would be maybe not so fully into using this as a perspective gaining tool. But for me, I'm what do they call them? Asabro, Brosatru, Asadruid, what have you. So I'm kind of 1 foot in this side, so that's really good. As far as what else I'm reading, I started reading the Mabinogion last year. A bunch of Celtic myths, stories about fairies and all that kind of stuff, and names that are very, very difficult to read because they're Welsh. It's very, very worth reading. I'm only part way through. Maybe I'll get a chance to mention this in a video later on in the year. But again, definitely worth reading if you're into Celtic myth, fairies, anything like that. It's definitely worth going for. As far as what I'm really into at the moment, my plans for the next year, obviously there's a tree planting. Last year I spent a lot of time. Oak is my favourite tree. I've even managed to get an old 3-penny coin. I don't know if you can see. If you Google England 3-penny coin, maybe stick oak in the search. There's some acorns and oak leaves on the old 3-penny coin. I love the oak tree; it's my favourite tree. But this year, I think I've seen people talk about a tree a year, new year, new tree, or whatever. Like kind of taking a year to learn everything they can about a tree. I learnt a lot about oak trees last year, and I know we're almost in February, but I haven't decided what tree I'd like to look at this year. I might take the year as being starting maybe in spring, because it's very difficult to learn a huge amount about a tree if you don't know what the tree looks like. And I think that starting with the leaves coming out would be a really good way for me to go. Obviously, the oak leaf is very recognisable. Acorns, the bark. The oak tree is. I've always thought of it as being a quintessentially British tree. I know it's all over the world, but it's something that I already knew what the tree looked like. I'm tempted to go for beech, because obviously I've got easy access to the Tolkien trees in Avebury, and they're my favourite beech trees in the world. They're some of my favourite trees in the world, the Tolkien trees. So beech would obviously be one. I've started kind of looking into the beech tree and studying it and whatnot already. Another easy one would be birch, because again it's something that I already know about. I know what the bark looks like on a birch tree. I know what the flowers look like on a birch tree. It's something that I've already started to look at, and obviously there's the runic connection there with Berkana. So I'm not sure. There's a good chance I'm going to start with beech. But who knows? Maybe again I can bring that one up. As far as anything else, I don't really plan too far ahead. I mean, I've got a year planner that I've marked all the kind of the school holiday dates on. But I don't know. Maybe I'll have to start planning out my planting way ahead of time this year. I know this year, the year just gone, I was very late with getting my root trainers for my acorns. to the point where they ended up starting to grow. So I brought them in because I didn't want them dying over Christmas, and in the end they ended up sprouting over Christmas. So I've now got downstairs a whole bunch of 6-inch new oak seedlings. I'm not sure whether to put them outside or bring them in or keep them in or what at the moment. I don't know if they'll get a second year's growth if I keep them inside till spring and put them out, or if the first year's growth will just end up taking 1.5 seasons and then they'll just be really big to start their second year's growth in 2021. I need to do some research on that. The last month I've been visited by the black dog, so not really much has gotten done. I mean, that fella, you may have just seen him. Ironically, my little white dog has been a big help, but I think there have been a couple of times when I should have subbed. I think at least once I should have subbed, but yeah, this last month has not been great. Depression sucks balls. But yeah, turning a corner. Time to start the new year properly, I think. Yeah. Is there anything else? I don't believe there is. Maybe I can give you a look at my classroom at some point. There's lots of naturey things and bees and whatnot in there. Maybe I can do that. Maybe I'll do that on my channel. I'll try and get a link to my channel in the description below. You might have to copy and paste it. I don't have a channel name yet. It's not got very many subs and stuff. So yeah, if I put a link, maybe if I get enough subs, I'll be able to put in a new channel name. I used to have the Hairy Geek, but that got taken from me because Google won't recognise that that's my account, so I can't get in. So I had videos over on the Hairy Geek years ago, but I can't get there anymore. So yeah, I'll put a link to my channel in the description below. Maybe I'll be able to share some of these things that I've been doing. I've started. I've got myself a tattoo machine, so I've done a bunch of tattoos, kind of hand poke, so hand poke. The runes there, hand poke. But my first machine tattoo's not easier to see there, but obviously an oak leaf. But I coloured it hand poke, so it's kind of green, but starting to go into autumn. It's not the best there, but again, the Instagram, the Hairy Geek, to see all of that stuff. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange video, this one. We're looking at our special hosts sheet. It looks like we don't currently have our video topics. Oh, there we are. We don't currently have our video topics for this coming year, so at the end of February we'll see what the topic is. I don't know yet. I'm excited. Maybe there's a new document. We'll see. Anywho, thank you very much for listening. I've been the Hairy Geek, Tim, and blessed be.